At this very moment, as you read these words, millions of good men are being systematically destroyed in their own homes. Hardworking men, providers who sacrifice their dreams for their families. Men who wake up every day to a silent war they don't even know they're losing. Men who have become ghosts in their own houses, invisible, undervalued, scorned by the one person they swore to love and protect. And worst of all, they believe the solution is to try harder, to be more understanding, to give in more, to love more. They are dying inside and calling it love. You are probably one of them. Society sold you a poisoned lie. They told you that if you are kind enough, understanding enough, present enough, she will respect you. They told you her disrespect is because she's stressed, because you're not listening enough, because you need couples therapy. They told you the solution is more dialogue, more concessions, more sacrificing who you are. A lie. All a lie. The brutal truth no one has the courage to tell you is that every time you give in, every time you swallow the disrespect, every time you prioritize peace over your dignity, you are signing your own death warrant as a man. The disrespect you feel is not an accident. It's not a phase. It's not because she had a bad day. It's a test, a silent, unconscious, relentless test that all women apply without exception. And you are failing. All women test, all of them, without exception. No matter how loving she seems, how modern and independent she declares herself to be, how educated and rational she is, the programming is there, coded over thousands of years of evolution. She needs to know if the man beside her is still strong, still capable, still worthy, and she will test again and again and again until she's sure. And if you fail these tests, if you show weakness, hesitation, submission, disrespect, is not a possibility. It's a guarantee. It's the automatic, instinctive, inevitable response to a masculine frame that has shattered. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That way, she rolls her eyes when you speak, how she interrupts you mid-sentence, how she questions every decision you make, even the most trivial ones, how she makes jokes about you in front of friends and family, and when you complain, she says you have no sense of humor, how she compares you to other men, to her friend's husband, to her ex, to an idealized version you'll never be, how she treats your opinions as irrelevant, your plans as inconvenient, your feelings as dramatic, how sex has become a bargaining chip, a tool of control, something she grants when you behave well, how you walk on eggshells in your own home, measuring every word, every action, desperately trying not to provoke the next outburst, the next criticism, the next look of contempt. That is exactly you. And you are stuck on a battlefield you don't understand, fighting a war with the wrong weapons, using tactics that guarantee your defeat. You think you're being a good man, a good husband, a good father. You think sacrifice is love, that giving in is maturity, that swallowing disrespect is keeping the peace. You are wrong, catastrophically wrong. And every day that passes, every concession you make, every piece of yourself you surrender, you are digging deeper into the trench of your own misery. Meet Mark, software engineer, 38 years old, 6-figure salary, own apartment in an upscale neighborhood, on paper, a winner, a successful man, the kind of man any woman should value, married for 7 years to Anna. In the beginning, she admired him, looked at him with pride when he talked about his projects, supported his ambitions, laughed at his jokes. Sex was frequent, passionate, connected. Mark thought he had found his partner, his queen, the woman with whom he would build his empire. But Mark made a fatal mistake. He confused comfort with contentment, security with respect. He started giving in on small things. He thought he was being a good husband, understanding, mature. When she suggested he stop playing video games on Saturdays because it was time they could spend together, he agreed. When she thought the gym 5 times a week was excessive, he reduced it to 3, then 2, then stopped. When she said his friends were immature and that they should go out more with couples, he accepted. When she wanted shared control of finances to make life easier for the two of them, he opened the joint account. Small concessions, reasonable things, compromise. That's what marriage is, right? Wrong. Every concession was read as weakness. Every yes, when he wanted to say no, was filed as evidence. Every piece of autonomy he surrendered was conquered territory she would never return. And the disrespect began. Subtle at first. A comment here, a criticism there, but it grew. It metastasized. It spread like cancer through the structure of the relationship until it consumed everything. Today, Mark lives like a guest in his own apartment. Anna constantly interrupts him. No matter the subject, no matter who is present. He could be in the middle of a story, an explanation, an opinion, and she simply talks over him, as if he weren't there, as if his words had no weight. And when he tries to continue, she sighs dramatically, rolls her eyes, and tells him to just finish it. In front of friends, she calls him too nice, naive, out of touch. She laughs when he tries to set rules for the children, literally laughs, and the children notice. They learn that their father is irrelevant, that his words are empty, that their mother is the real authority. His clothes are a constant target. She criticizes what he wears, how he eats, how he sits, his haircut, his weight, always with that tone of veiled superiority, of chronic disappointment, as if she had settled for an inferior version of what she deserved. Sex has become a cold, rare negotiation. Weeks pass, sometimes months, and when it happens, it's mechanical, without passion, without connection. A favor she grants, a crumb he should be grateful for. Mark lost 15 pounds of muscle and gained 15 pounds of fat. The deep, dark circles under his eyes tell the story of sleepless nights, ruminating on how his life transformed into this silent hell. He lost his passion for the work he once loved. He just shows up, goes through the motions, collects his salary, the salary she spends without consulting him. His job is to deposit the money and shut up. He feels like an empty shell, a ghost, a walking ATM. And the worst part is, he doesn't know how he got here. He was kind. He was understanding. He did everything right. He did everything wrong. Mark's story ends every night the same way. He lies next to her, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of humiliation crush his chest, and wondering if this is really all his life will be. A man who built an apartment but lost his home. A man who provides everything but receives nothing. A man who became the joke he swore he'd never be. Do you think Mark's story is extreme? You are wrong. Mark's story is common. Frighteningly common. The only difference is that most Marks don't admit it. Not even to themselves. They rationalize, minimize. They say every relationship has problems, that she's just stressed, that things will get better, that love is sacrifice. Love is not one-sided sacrifice. Love is not chronic disrespect. Love is not living as an emotional prisoner in your own life. And now comes the part that will truly destroy you. The part you don't want to hear but need to. The disrespect you feel is not chaotic, it's not random, it's systematic, patterned, predictable. There is an arsenal of tactics she uses, consciously or not, to test your frame, measure your strength, check if you are still the man she needs you to be. And every time you fail one of these tests, the disrespect intensifies. I will list these tactics now, and you will recognize everyone, because you are living everyone. The decision challenge. She questions your choices. No matter how trivial. You choose a restaurant. She suggests a better one. You plan a route. She says she knows a faster way. You decide to buy something. She asks if you really need it. Always a counter-suggestion. Always a doubt planted. Are you sure? Last time you chose, it went wrong. Remember? The goal isn't to improve the decision. It's to see if you back down, if you will defend your choice or immediately give in. And every time you say, okay, let's do it your way, you failed. You scored another point for weakness. A weak man justifies. A strong man decides and moves forward. She doesn't want you to ask for an opinion. She wants to see if you have conviction. And you don't. The veiled criticism. Demeaning comments wrapped in humor or concern. Oh, are you wearing that shirt again? I thought you threw it out. Are you really going to eat that? I thought you were trying to lose weight. You've always been kind of disorganized, haven't you? Always with that little smile, that tone, as if it were a joke, as if it were for your own good. But it's not. It's measured poison. And when you complain, when you dare to say it hurts you, she reverses it. You're too sensitive. You have no sense of humor. You're exaggerating, and you swallow it again and again until you internalize it, until you start to believe that you really are disorganized, that you really need to change your shirt, that you really are too sensitive. She has colonized your self-image. You are no longer who you are. You are who she says you are. The role reversal. She demands that you ask permission to exercise your basic autonomy. Are you going out with your friends again? Did you ask if I had plans for us? Are you going to buy that without consulting me? Are you going to stay late at work without telling me? As if you were a child. As if your actions needed maternal approval. And the most devastating part is that you start asking. You start consulting. You start feeling guilty for wanting your own time, for wanting to make decisions without supervision. You have become subordinate in your own relationship. She is the captain. You are the sailor asking permission to use the restroom. The silent contempt. You try to talk. She looks at her phone. You try to hug. She pulls away to do something else. You try to initiate sex. She pretends to be asleep. No harsh words, no shouting, just emptiness, absence, as if you didn't exist, as if your need for connection were inconvenient, annoying, and you stand there, rejected, invisible, feeling your dignity evaporate in silence. Because at least a fight you could face. But how do you fight against emptiness? How do you confront indifference? You can't, you just absorb it, and die a little more. Public disqualification, the most brutal blow. She humiliates you in front of other people. Oh, he doesn't really understand these things, let me explain. My husband isn't very good with money. He's just kind of clueless. Always with that condescending smile, that tone of forced patience, as if dealing with a special needs child, and everyone laughs, or gets uncomfortable. And you? You smile, agree, joke along. Because confronting would be making a scene. It would be being dramatic. It would be confirming that you are too sensitive. So you swallow the humiliation. In front of friends, in front of family, in front of strangers. And every witness to that moment learns that you don't deserve respect. Not from her, not from anyone. The financial limit test. She demands expenses that exceed what's reasonable. She wants things that are beyond the budget. And when you hesitate, when you dare to suggest that maybe it's not the time, she attacks. If you really loved me, you'd buy it. So-and-so has it, and her husband didn't complain. Don't you want to see me happy? Always turning a financial decision into a test of love. And you give in, you buy the bag, you take the trip, you trade in the car. Because proving your love through your credit card is easier than setting a limit and hearing that you don't love her enough. And your assets bleed. And your financial security evaporates. And she's still not satisfied, because satisfaction was never the goal. Control was. The irrational loyalty test, baseless accusations. Where were you? Who did you talk to? Why did it take so long? I saw you looking at that woman. I'm sure you're hiding something. Constant distrust. Interrogations. And you defend yourself, desperately. You show your phone. You explain every minute of your day. You beg her to believe you. And the more you defend yourself, the guiltier you look. The more you try to prove your innocence, the more you validate her right to doubt. A man of value does not defend himself against unfounded accusations. A man of value says, prove it or shut up. But you are not a man of value, not anymore. You are a desperate man. And she knows it. Withholding sex and affection. The oldest weapon, the most effective. After an argument, after you dared to disagree, after you set a boundary, she withdraws. I'm not in the mood. I'm tired. I'm not feeling it. Days, weeks, months, and you beg. You try to please. You do everything she wants. You become a dog begging for crumbs of intimacy. And when she finally allows it, you thank her. You literally thank her for access to your own wife's body. You have become a sexual beggar in your own relationship. And she controls the supply. And you dance to her tune. Because the alternative is the desert. And you are afraid of the desert. Social sabotage. She creates friction about everything that makes you a man. Your friends are immature. Your hobby is a waste of time. Your gym is an obsession. Your job keeps you away from her. Always something. Always a complaint, always drama when you try to do something independent of her. And slowly, you give up. You cancel with friends. You stop the hobby. You reduce gym time, all to keep the peace, all to avoid guilt. And you look in the mirror 5 years later and don't recognize the man looking back, because that man has no friends, no passions, no identity outside the relationship. He is a shadow, and shadows don't inspire respect. Shadows inspire contempt. Each of these tactics is a test, and you are failing them all, daily. And each failure accumulates. It builds a mental dossier in her head that you are no longer the strong man she needs. You are convenient, useful, but not respected, not desired. And the disrespect is not her conscious choice. It is an automatic response to a man who has lost his frame. You are thinking this is extreme, that not all women are like this, that your situation is different. And it is precisely this thought that guarantees you will remain trapped. Because as long as you believe your situation is unique, that she is an exception, that you just need to try a little harder, you won't take the necessary actions to change. You remain frozen in denial. And denial is comfortable. Denial allows you to continue being destroyed while telling yourself everything is fine. But wait, it gets worse. Because it's not just her. The entire system is against you. Modern society has built an institutional arsenal to ensure you remain exactly where you are. Weak, submissive, easy to control. Conventional couples therapy is a calculated fraud. You go thinking you'll find help, a solution, clarity. And what do you find? A therapist who has already entered the room with the script written. The man isn't listening enough. The man isn't validating her feelings. The man needs to be more empathetic, more present, more understanding. Every session is a lesson on how you are failing, how your actions are hurting her, how you need to change. And you leave with a to-do list. Be more romantic. Help more around the house. Validate her feelings more, while no one questions her disrespect. No one addresses the power dynamic. No one talks about masculine frame or attraction. Because the modern therapeutic model operates under the premise that relationships are about feelings and communication. They are not. They are about power and attraction. And while you are trying to communicate better, she is losing the rest of the respect she had. You go home more confused, weaker, with your frame even more shattered. And the therapist charges $400 for the session. Same time next week. Media and entertainment are propaganda machines, movies, TV shows, songs, books, all preaching the same poisonous narrative. The ideal man is one who puts the woman on a pedestal, who sacrifices everything for her, who proves his love through grand gestures of submission, who pursues her when she pulls away, who begs when she threatens to leave. And you watch these movies since childhood, internalized these scripts, believed this is romance, that this is true love, when in reality, this is guaranteed biological repulsion, because no woman in evolutionary history was attracted to a man who grovels. No woman respected a man who begs, but you were conditioned to believe that you should, that if you just love enough, sacrifice enough, she will see, she will value you. A lie, she will despise you, and you will die confused about why what every movie taught you doesn't work in real life. Because movies are not made to teach you truth, they are made to keep you domesticated. The legal system of divorce and family is a guillotine suspended over your head. You enter marriage thinking it's a partnership, 50-50, joint construction, and technically it is, until it isn't anymore. Because if she decides it's over, if she completely loses respect and wants to leave, what happens? In most countries, in most states, she gets half the assets. Even if you built everything, she gets custody of the children. Even if you are the model father and she is unstable, you pay alimony to her, to the children, until they turn 18 or 21, or until you die, while she lives in the house you paid for, spends the money you earn, and introduces the children to her new boyfriend. And you live in a one-bedroom apartment. You see your children on alternate weekends, and you bleed half your monthly salary. And if you complain, if you fight, you are the bad man, the absent father, the resentful misogynist. The system was built on the premise that women are always victims and need to be protected. Even when she initiated the divorce, even when she destroyed the relationship, and you are just the walking wallet who must pay in silence. This is the perverse incentive. This is why women who have lost respect for their partner are not afraid to leave. Because leaving is profitable, and you are trapped. Because trying to save your frame and set boundaries can cost you everything. And if you dare to talk about it, if you dare to seek support, if you dare to say you are being disrespected and want change, society has a ready label for you. Toxic, misogynistic, controlling, abusive. Any attempt to impose a boundary is control. Any demand for respect is misogyny. Any refusal to give in is toxicity. And you are isolated, canceled, ostracized. Friends distance themselves. Family questions you. Everyone tells you to be more understanding, more kind, more patient. And you prefer to suffer in silence than be publicly destroyed. So you swallow it and sink deeper. And the system wins again. The system doesn't want you to be strong. The system wants you to be docile, predictable, controllable, a good worker who produces wealth and doesn't make waves. And the most effective way to keep a man controlled is through a relationship that destroys him. A strong man with a solid frame is dangerous. A broken man is neutral, and neutral is the goal. You are alone in this war. The system is against you. Society is against you. And the woman in your bed is testing if you are still worth anything. So what do? You have a choice. For the first time perhaps in years, you have a real choice. Not the illusion of choice between obeying or begging, but a real choice between continuing to die or starting to live. First action, recognition and documentation. Stop living in a fog. Stop rationalizing. Grab a notebook, open a file on your phone, anything, and start recording. Every instance of disrespect. Date, time, what was said, what was done, how you reacted, not to use against her, to use in your favor, to create an objective pattern, to break the denial. Because while it's in your head, you minimize. You forget. You convince yourself it wasn't that bad. But when it's written down, when you see the list grow, when you realize it happens every day, the denial breaks, reality pierces through, and you can no longer pretend everything is fine. Name the tactic, decision challenge, veiled, criticism, silent contempt. Name it and see the pattern. This is the first step. Objective awareness. Second action, reconstruction of the inner frame. Frame is not something you perform, it is something you are, and you have lost who you are. You have become a reflection of her expectations, an appendage of her needs. You need to rebuild yourself from the inside out, and this requires daily work, dedicated, non-negotiable, gym, 5 times a week, minimum, not to look good for her, to rebuild the connection between your body and your mind, to remember that you are capable of physical strength, that you occupy space, that you are not invisible. Masculine hobbies. What did you abandon? Take them up again. It doesn't matter if she complains. Take them up again. Reading. Books on leadership, on frame, on masculinity. Feed your mind with truth instead of propaganda, meditation, silence. 20 minutes a day where you are not a husband, not a father, not a provider. You are just you. Reconnecting with who you were before you got lost. Frame starts here. Alone. Without an audience. Without external validation. You rebuilding the internal structure that she will test. And the more solid this internal frame, the less the external tests will shake you. Third action. Establishment of non-negotiable boundaries. Identify 3 to 5 areas where you will not tolerate disrespect. Choose carefully. Don't choose everything. Choose what truly matters to you. Constant interruptions, public disqualification, sabotage of your plans. Choose, and then communicate. Not in a moment of argument, not in an emotional response, in a neutral moment, calm, eye to eye, without anger, without justification, without asking permission, a simple affirmation. I will no longer accept being constantly interrupted. I will no longer accept being criticized in front of other people. I will no longer ask permission to exercise my autonomy. Simple as that. She will test. She will question. She will try to negotiate. You do not argue. You simply reaffirm. This is a boundary. It is not a negotiation. And you prepare for the next action. Fourth action, consequential and calibrated action. A boundary without consequence is a suggestion, and no one respects suggestions. So when the boundary is tested, and it will be tested, you apply a consequence. Not anger, not shouting, not emotional drama, cold, predictable consequence. She interrupts you, you stop talking. Silence. You stare at her until she notices, until the discomfort is hers. You don't explain, you don't complain. You just stop and wait. She disqualifies you in public, you change the subject. Or you get up and leave the interaction. No explanation, no scene, just removal of your presence. She withholds affection as punishment. You don't beg. You don't try to please. You live your life. Gym, friends, work, as if her absence doesn't destroy you, because it doesn't destroy you anymore. Consequences teach what words cannot. They teach that you are no longer the man who accepts disrespect in silence. And either she recalibrates or she chooses. But the choice is no longer just hers. Fifth action, reaffirmation of financial and social autonomy. Reassume control of your money. If finances are joint and she spends without consulting, separate them. Have your own account. Contribute proportionally to household expenses. The rest is yours. It's not selfishness, it's dignity. It's ensuring you're not just a walking ATM. And rebuild your social network. The friends you abandoned, call them. Make plans, go out, don't ask permission, inform. I'm going out with friends Saturday. It's not a question, it's a statement. She will complain. She will accuse you of abandoning her, of not prioritizing her. You listen, and you go anyway, because a man without a social life is an isolated man, and an isolated man is a controllable man. You rebuild your own territory, space that is yours, an identity that exists independently of her. And this is not an attack on the relationship, it is the salvation of the relationship. Because a woman does not respect a man who has no life of his own. She respects a man who has a rich life and invites her to participate. Complete inversion. Sixth action, the no test. Start small. She asks for something you would automatically give into before. And you say no, without elaborate justification, without apologizing, just no. Observe the reaction. She will push. She will try to make you feel guilty. She will accuse you of not caring. And you hold your ground. It's not about the specific request. It's about training your no, strengthening the muscle of refusal. Because a man who doesn't know how to say no is a man without boundaries. And a woman without boundaries loses respect. Every no is a reconstruction. Every boundary maintained is territory recovered. Start small and expand. Seventh action, preparation for the worst-case scenario. The brutal truth you need to accept now is that reestablishing your frame can cost the relationship. It can lead to massive conflict. It can result in divorce. And you need to be prepared. Financially, emotionally, legally, discreetly consult an attorney. Understand your rights. Understand what you could lose. Set aside money. Have an emergency fund that she cannot access. Not as preparation for war, as insurance. Because a man with options acts differently than a desperate man. A man who knows he can survive alone negotiates from a position of strength. A man who is trapped negotiates on his knees. And a woman feels that difference. She feels the energy. And ironically, a man prepared to leave is a man she wants to keep. A man desperate to stay is a man she wants to discard. Brutal paradox, but true. Eighth action, the inner abundance switch. The most important change happens in your head. You need a fundamental shift in how you see the world. You don't need her, you choose her. Massive difference. Need implies desperation. Choose implies options. And cultivating an abundance mindset, genuinely understanding that there are millions of women in the world and your happiness does not depend on this one, is liberation. It doesn't mean you don't love her. It means you love yourself more. It means you are willing to walk away if respect is not restored. And this is the internal switch that makes all other actions possible and authentic. Because if you do all of the above, but deep down, you are still desperate for her to stay. She feels it, she perceives it, and the tests continue. But if you are genuinely at peace with any outcome, if you know that you will be fine alone or with someone else, the energy changes completely. And either she feels that energy and recalibrates, raising the level of respect, or she chooses to leave, and you let her, without begging, without negotiating, without destroying yourself trying to hold on to someone who doesn't want to stay. These 8 actions are not suggestions. They are commands. They are the arsenal of a man who has decided to stop dying. They are the reconstruction tactics that work, always, without exception, if executed with consistency and authenticity. But will you do it? Or will you read this, feel a moment of clarity, of justified anger, of determination, and then tomorrow return to the pattern? Give in to the first criticism? Ask permission to go out? Accept the interruption in silence? There are 2 types of men reading this now. The first type will recognize the truth, will feel the pain of recognition. Every word was a punch to the gut. Every example was a mirror of his life. But he will do nothing. He will rationalize that his situation is different, that he just needs to try a little harder, that she is going through a difficult phase, that things will get better, and 5 years from now, he will be exactly where he is now, or worse, more broken, more invisible, more destroyed, living in the gilded cage he built with his own concessions, watching his children learn that a man doesn't deserve respect, getting fatter, getting older, dying inside while smiling on the outside. This man will die full of regrets, full of what ifs. What if I had acted? What if I had set boundaries? What if I had chosen my dignity? But time will have passed, life will have passed, and all that will remain is bitterness and the devastating realization that he chose this. He chose to die slowly to maintain the appearance of peace. The second type will recognize the truth and will act immediately, today, now. He will open the notebook and start documenting. He will schedule gym time. He will text the friend he abandoned. He will look in the mirror and decide it's over, that he will no longer live like this, that he prefers the chaos of change to the misery of the status quo. And this man's path will not be easy. There will be confrontation. There will be intensified tests. She will escalate before she recalibrates. There may be divorce. There may be loss, but there will also be respect, his own and hers. There will be the reconstruction of identity, the regaining of dignity. And in the end, whether with her having learned to respect the man he became, or with a new woman who values him for the strong man he is, he will live, truly live, not just survive. He will live. And when he is old, looking back, he will know that he faced fear, that he chose truth, that he refused the prison, and he will die in peace. Which man are you? Because there is no middle ground. There is no trying a little bit. There is no setting some boundaries, but not all. You are either all in or you are out. Either you decide your life is worth the battle or you resign yourself to a slow death. And the clock is ticking. You are getting older. Every day that passes is a day you never get back. Every night of humiliation is a night lost forever. Every moment of disrespect is a scar on your soul. And there's a limit to how many scars a man can endure before becoming an empty shell. Mark is reading this now, somewhere, staring at his computer screen in the empty office at 11 at night, because going home is facing the void, and he recognizes every word, every example, every tactic, and tears are streaming down his face, because finally someone spoke the truth. Finally, someone saw, and he is at a crossroads. He can close this text, wipe away the tears, go home, lie beside her, and continue dying. Or he can decide, now, that it's over, that tomorrow begins differently. And you are at the same crossroads. I cannot make the choice for you. No one can. Therapists won't save you. Friends won't rescue you. Society certainly won't help you. Only you can decide that you deserve respect, that your life matters, that you will no longer accept crumbs of dignity. And I understand the fear. I understand completely. Fear of being alone, fear of losing your children, fear of losing comfort, fear that maybe she's right and you are the problem, fear that you are not strong enough to rebuild. All these fears are valid. They are real. But do you know what is scarier than all that fear combined? Reaching 60 years old and realizing you wasted your one life being a coward. That you had the truth in front of you and chose the comfortable lie. You are not a victim. Stop seeing yourself as a victim. A victim has no power. A victim waits for rescue. You are not a victim. You are a man who made bad choices. And now you have the opportunity to make better choices. This is not a condemnation. It is liberation. Because if you made choices that brought you here, you can make choices that take you out of here. The woman in your life is not an enemy. She is doing exactly what biology programmed her to do, testing, checking, ensuring that the man beside her is still strong. The problem is not that she tests. The problem is that you fail. And you fail because no one ever taught you the real rules. No one told you that respect is not given. It is earned daily. That attraction is not permanent. It is maintained. That love without respect is poison. You operated with a false map and were surprised when you arrived at the wrong destination. But now you know. The truth is in front of you. Naked, brutal, impossible to ignore. And with that truth comes responsibility. Responsibility to act, to choose, to become the man you know you can be. And I'm going to tell you something no one else will tell you. Something that will sound impossible after everything you've read. But listen, you are capable. You are stronger than you believe. More resilient than you know. You have survived until now. Through all the disrespect, all the humiliation, every day waking up to a silent war, you are still here. That means something. It means there is a core of strength in you that not all the disrespect could completely destroy. And if you channel that strength, if you use the pain you felt as fuel instead of poison, if you decide to honor the man you could have been by rebuilding from the ruins, you not only can do this, you will do it. And when you do, when you set the first boundary and maintain it, when you say the first no and don't back down, when you look in the mirror and recognize a spark of the man you were returning, when you feel the first moment of genuine respect, whether from her or from yourself, you will understand that every moment of discomfort was worth it, that every confrontation brought you closer to freedom, that the pain of change is nothing compared to the agony of stagnation. The choice is yours. It always has been, and always will be. You can close this and return to the prison. Or you can print it, reread it, underlining every part that hurt, and begin. Today, now, one step, then another, until you are walking, until you are running, until you are free. The choice is yours, and the clock is ticking.